All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dustless Blasting Business Webinar. My name is Kaylin. I'm joined by Miss Jennifer here. And today we're going to be giving you guys kind of everything that you would need to know if you are interested in dustless blasting and then possibly starting your own blasting business with our machines. So let's just go over the agenda and what you guys can expect to see and learn from this webinar. So first we're going to be telling you guys kind of what dustless blasting is, right? So everything you need to know about our machines, the product, and the services you can offer. And then we'll be talking about why it's a proven business opportunity, right? So why should you care? Why is this valuable for you? And why you might want to actually start a business with our machines. And then after that, we're going to be going over real steps that you can take if you are interested in starting your own blasting business. A kind of a little mini checklist for you to save and keep in your back pocket when you're ready to take those next steps. And then at the very end, we're going to open it up to a Q&A. So you can leave your questions in the comment section if you would like, and then we're going to go back and try and get to all of those at the very end. If we do not get to your question, we are going to go back once the webinar is closed and try to get to all of those so that you don't walk away with any questions unanswered. So let's do it. Let's kick things off. And Jennifer, why don't you tell us, for those of you who are new and you're like, I have no idea what your product is, what is dustless blasting? Let's talk about that and the history behind our blasting systems.
Sure thing. So, dustless blasting hasn't maybe been around for all that long, but sandblasting in general has been around for hundreds of years, it seems like.
Yeah.
But since 1941, this company has been in business, actually starting on the sandblasting side and then moving into soda blasting as things evolved in that industry. And soda blasting at the time was actually being used in the automotive industry as a great way to surface prep.
Right.
And then what they found was at the time, the way the paint was working, it was actually having trouble adhering using the soda. So, further evolvement came to providing a solution in the automotive industry for what they could do to have and achieve surface prep perfection. And, that's how dustless blasting was born. We were able to then take and incorporating our water and media choice, which became crushed recycled bottle glass, into the pot all at one time. And it really just evolved the abrasive blasting system that way. And then we took it one step further by putting it on a mobile setup.
Yes.
So that we could actually get this machine on the road. You could get to a customer or a, infrastructure, so many different, opportunities of where you could go with it.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how it all came about. And that's where we've seen the biggest benefit from it because what isn't rusted, dirty, or painted
Exactly.
and in need of surface prep that you really can't get that product to your shop where you had a very stationary unit.
Yeah.
You can now get out into the field, out into your community and provide these, services that are, absolutely needed in this day and age.
Absolutely. And a few common questions that we get is like, oh, is it a pressure washer? Is it a dry ice blaster?
Yeah.
And so no, this is an abrasive blasting machine.
Yep.
And what's pretty cool is that it is so versatile. You can dry blast with it if you need to. You can soda blast with it, or you can use our awesome dustless blasting, which is basically wet blasting, mixing your media of choice with water inside the blast pot. And so, giving our customers the ability to choose between which process they want to do with one machine means that they can really make their customer or their client happy and give them the best results that they want.
Absolutely. Just there's so many different applications where sandblasting would be the preferred method of prepping.
Yeah.
That you can now have, multiple media choices instead of only having one specific media type that you could utilize. And when you're then going into a city or an environment where, regulations are going to dictate that you have to use water. Yeah. Some of the times the material that you're blasting itself is the one that holds the contaminants or the bad, particles of whatever, lead or asbestos or, anything like that. So the incorporation of water helps keep that dust plume down, allows you to really capture all of that residue, and now you can dispose of it properly without it being all airborne. And that's a big, opportunity for you to show your, expansiveness of what your services you can offer, because you can tackle both wet, dry, and like you mentioned, soda.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a little bit about what dustless blasting is. Now let's talk about why it's a proven business opportunity. So why should you care? And I know so many people are like, look, lady, just tell me how much it costs. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about this low cost startup. And, when we say low, it's because we are comparing it to a lot of different business opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
And this really is an awesome low price to get you to be able to start your own business and walk away with a machine that can earn you, unlimited. Really, there's unlimited earning potential. So
Right.
what is that low startup cost, Jennifer?
So the beauty of this is that our mobile trailers are designed very purposefully with the intent of making sure that an individual can get into business for themselves at a cost that isn't going to mean that they're spending the first 5 years of the business trying to buy into that business.
Right.
Our entry trailer unit starts at right at $47,000.
Yep.
And then they go up from there. So when you compare that to traditional franchise type businesses, I mean,
insane.
there are hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference within that. And then this, we found, is really an investment that absolutely pays you back potentially within the first week or two of ownership.
Yes.
We've, talked about that before with people who are generating jobs and sources of income before they even get the trailer home.
Yes. I love that. They'll show up here and they're like, hey, I already got my trailer paid for because I landed 2 jobs that are going to cover it. And that is so cool.
Yeah.
So that low startup, you can be in business for yourself for under $50,000 and walk away, making up to 300. Well, we say the average is making $300 an hour for these services because, it is an awesome service where you are, doing this amazing type of work.
And the opportunities of what you can work on are so expansive. And so within that, you will find, depending on what your niche is or what your preferred industry is that you like to work in, that within that, these services on average get you that $300 an hour. More than anything, everybody has to understand this is a premium service that you are able to provide.
Yeah.
And with that becomes a premium rate. And so many people that already own the machines, they will flat out walk around and say, I don't start my machine up for under $200 an hour. Just don't even do it. And stick to your guns about what this is. I mean, this is still a relatively new, opportunity in being a mobile service. But the premium features that everybody is into now for, kind of replacing and not replacing, but restoring. Really drives that for a lot of what is industry available now.
Yeah. And, let's talk about, I think one of my favorite parts about Dustless Blasting, because I'm impatient. And when I have an idea, I'm like, let's do it. I'm ready. I'm all in. Let's pull the trigger. I don't want to wait. And let's talk about the wait time. So if someone's like, I'm interested, I want to start my own business, you don't have to wait months to get this machine.
No, you absolutely don't. That's the beautiful thing about, us being our own manufacturer, without a lot of distributors all over the country that we're trying to provide the unit to. We're providing the unit directly to you, the customer, and we can do that.
Yeah.
So fortunately, within 1 to 2 weeks time, usually at most. So really there isn't a long wait time.
Right.
Like you said, when you pull out the trailer, you could literally drive it straight from our place to your job of choice, and perform that. There is literally no time to wait for you to be operational.
And then another great thing that I think our business owners just really love is the freedom that comes with this opportunity. So your business is what you make of it. We are not going to control. This isn't a franchise. We're not going to dictate that. So depending on your goals, if you want to work Monday through Friday, or you want to work every weekend, and your goal is, money, you got things you want to get done, that's great.
It's all up to you.
But we do have people who just want to work 2 to 3 times a week. And so this business is 100% what you make of it.
That's right.
Like I said, it's not a franchise. There are no royalties. You keep all of the profits. And let's talk about territories and really why it's not a franchise.
Yeah, there was just no real reason that made sense to have territories to structure it, because of the vast amount of opportunities that you have for industries that you work in. You can have, your heart's desire, your passion is all in that automotive industry. Well, your next door neighbor might not be that car guy. He might be into boats, or he might be a general contractor who's really into restoring, old homes, or whatever the case may be. So it's not really, fair to say, because of that, you can only have one machine in a certain area. It just doesn't work like that.
Right.
And then the beauty of it too, it being mobile, what happens if you choose to move? You know, you can move,
Yeah.
you know, for your spouse's job might take you out of the state.
Right.
You can take your business with you and just start it up again just as easily in a new place. So, you know, mainly because of the multitude of industries that are
Yes.
available, that's the primary reason.
Yep.
But really, they're just, it didn't seem natural to need to do that for this when there are so many revenue opportunities with this machine.
And we've seen it time and time again where, you know, someone kind of in the same area, one guy is just doing pools
Yeah.
and one guy is just doing residential work or automotive work, and they'll send each other jobs like, hey, I'm the
Nice.
pool guy. I
Yeah.
don't want to do
Right.
automotive,
Yep.
and this guy doesn't want anything to do with pools. So they help each other out and send each other
Definitely.
clients, which is really cool.
Yeah, that's great.
So let's talk about the last thing we're going to talk about before the next steps is dustless blasting and naming your business. So there's one thing we wanted to just make you guys aware of is why you cannot name your business dustless blasting.
And it's really just something that we want everybody to think about. We as a company have spent a lot of time and effort into making the brand be a recognizable brand of a tool. And with that, we're selling you a product.
Yeah.
What everybody that's buying into the product is doing is they're then selling a service. So in selling that service, that's why when it comes to, you know, naming your business, you want to make sure that you're actually including something that kind of describes what it is you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
What are those services that you're, you know, entering into? If you're a general contractor, this just gets to be an additional tool for you. What you get as a benefit out of it is all of the brand kind of support and, you know, kind of the truth and integrity that we have behind our brand.
Right.
And that is in the tool itself. So it's just really important. You know, Dustless Blasting is a trademark name that we, you know, work very diligently to protect. But with that being said, it just goes back to what services do you want to provide? Think about the services that are in your area that may currently offer, you know, whatever it is that you want to do as the job service, because
Right.
what we find is individuals in your area, they're not searching dustless blaster in my area. They're
Right.
searching, how do I get this paint off of X? Yeah, whatever. And you want to be the answer to that. So that's why it's so important that you have a name that really is more meaningful to you and your business rather than the tool that you're using.
Right. And once you're ready to, you know, pull the trigger and start your business, your sales rep will go over all these things. We just wanted to make sure we mentioned that before we moved on. But yeah, that's kind of why Dustless Blasting is this awesome proven business opportunity that maybe you should consider.
Yeah.
So let's talk about next steps. You know, if you're someone who's like, all right, Kaylin, you got me. I'm sold. I love the product. I am ready. What steps do I actually need to take? So we think step one is you need to figure out what services you want to offer. And there's a few reasons behind this. So one, the services that you're going to offer is going to help you when it's time to pick out your equipment. That's going to be pretty easy once you communicate that to your sales rep. They're going to be able to make a recommendation based on those services. And so let's just kind of go over the different services and show you a few different applications so you can kind of visually see what all the dustless blasting system can do. And so once you figure out what services you want, again, going back to what trailer you want, because if you're going to be in smaller residential areas, you might not want a massive trailer that's hard to get in and out of those areas.
Sure.
Or if you're going to be taking on those large commercial jobs, you're going to want you know, that bigger trailer with a bigger compressor, longer run time. So that's just step one, is to really figure out what you're passionate about, and that will make the work so much easier and more fun.
Well, it does. I think that is the biggest part, is getting an understanding of what you truly are passionate about. You're stepping out of, you know, one world and into another. Like if you are unhappy with your corporate job that's dictating all the hours that you know, have to work and what you have to do, and you're ready for something different, but yet you're like, oh, I've been in that oil field industry for my whole life, then you likely have some contacts that you could reach out to, that you understand where surface prep materials would be needed to do that. So now you have somebody you can call, you have that contact. If there's something that you just love as a passion, you know, you love rebuilding old homes, then, you know, maybe this is a supplemental tool that you can use to do that. But it just kind of gets your foot in the door for what it is about who you want to start contacting, to start generating, potential customers in your area.
Right.
And understanding what your passion is.
And maybe you're not so much passionate about the application, but maybe you're passionate about the type of people, right? Like, so maybe you're really passionate about your community and making your community a better place. So you'd want to get in contact with your local government and see what kind of jobs they have as far as graffiti cleanup or cleaning up parks. Those jobs pay really well too.
Oh,
so
yeah. We were talking about if you have a realtor friend
Yes.
who is, gets into that whole property management portion of things, like think of those apartment complexes. There's line stripe, there's wrought iron, staircases, there's fencing, there's, all kinds of line stripe, there's emergency exits. There's just so many things that you potentially have a contact to that you're just not even making that association to yet.
Right. And then let's talk about additional services that are available for you as well with this machine.
Yeah, this is another thing that I will say it over and over again, is how purpose-built these machines are and their layout on the trailer.
Yes.
It's all designed with intent. And we want you to be able to go out to a job and actually be able to fulfill services from A to Z. If you're removing a coating, we want you to be able to put something back so that the customer that you have isn't having to go to 2 or 3 different individuals to get one project done.
Yes, one-stop shop.
Exactly. And so if you can connect to, our auxiliary airports tools for priming or painting or adding that sealer on, you've just given them another step that they don't have to outsource. And then you've just made additional, revenue as well by adding an additional service to your, offerings.
Absolutely. So once you figure out, what services you want to offer, the next step is pretty easy. You're going to be picking out your equipment. And we have sales reps who would love to, walk you through that and make a recommendation. But if you're ready and let's just talk about some ways that can help people picking out their machine besides the services. So you know what services you want to offer, but obviously you're going to want to take your budget into consideration.
Sure.
And then also let's talk about your truck towing capacity. So what that means for you.
Yeah, all of this stuff kind of starts to work together, but obviously our machines, we have an S trailer. It's our most compact trailer, and that is the only difference of it, is that we made it in a compact design so that if you are in a small town with, little smaller roadways, you're on a campus that has just tight spaces and, close buildings and things of that nature, then like you mentioned earlier, you just want a smaller trailer that can get in and out. And that would be that S trailer, requiring a 1/2-ton pickup. That's the smallest truck for our trailer systems. Then you graduate into needing probably a 1-ton comfortably pickup to, utilize all of the XL size trailers that we have, and then, larger on up. But towing capacity is definitely something to consider. And then what I like to also put into the equation is, what are those services that you want to offer, and how do you see yourself time-wise doing those services? So if you're primarily going to be, doing more those residential projects that we talked about, staying in a smaller scale thing, and you think, well, probably 80% of my time is going to be doing that, then a 500 XL trailer is perfect for you. But if you feel like, well, that's going to be kind of maybe 30 to 40% of my business, but I see myself going after these bigger commercial jobs, taking on, think of a, Walmart parking lot or
Sam's Club,
any of those big company parking lots. Well, now you're talking about large square footage, big time, use. You want to be as efficient as you can with your time. So what does that mean? You probably might want to think about sizing up that trailer.
Yeah.
Just for efficiency's sake. So that's kind of another thing I like to add in there, is just what percentage of your time will you be using it for what service can dictate. Because if you are on the higher side of using it in a more commercial setting, you definitely want to think larger trailer.
Because we do get questions a lot. People are like, okay, what if I want to blast cars? What machine should I get? And that's not really, how it works, because our blast pots are capable of all doing the same thing, right? So what the difference comes into play is how long are you actually going to be running it? So if you're on a job site for 8 to 10 hours all day, you're going to want that bigger machine.
Yeah.
Because it's going to save you time and money in the long run.
Yes.
But if you're only running the machine a couple of hours because you're taking on those small projects, then the smaller machine is.
It makes sense. And that is one thing. We never want anyone to think that getting a lower priced trailer is going to get you a less efficient method of the surface prep. That's not the case at all. Every machine will do and accomplish the same thing. It's just the rate at which it can be done that increases. And it's that efficiency factor in a commercial setting, which usually means more revenue in your pocket, so
Yeah.
you get in and out faster and can get onto that next project.
Absolutely. So, and to view the, like you can view all the spec sheet on our website.
Yeah.
So if you're like, oh, I don't know if my truck can pull this or not, just go to our products page on dustlessblasting.com and you can pull up the specs and compare trailers, and that might help make your decision easier as well.
For sure.
So moving on, once you've picked out your machine, step 3, we're figuring out how to find our customers. So, the great news for you guys is, we know that creating a website and an online presence can be stressful when you're starting a new business. So we actually offer our own online or digital marketing packages.
Yes.
And so that is great because, you don't have a storefront. So you need to make sure that customers can find you. And so we are just happy to offer those services. So, I mean, Jennifer, I guess, can you elaborate on, why is that so crucial? Why do they need this marketing, make sure that they're online?
Yeah, well, we've talked about it. You don't have that brick and mortar store, so your online presence defines who you are.
Yeah.
And, it is also what the majority of people these days use as a tool to find you.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, I know everybody in my family spends a whole lot of time searching for,
Absolutely.
I want the best recommended blah blah blah, and you're just always searching for something. That search takes you to a landing page. The landing page is your website.
Yes.
So it's just critically important that you have that. And we've definitely, gone to school day after day, not only for ourselves, but for each of our contractors who utilize our marketing services. And that's allowed us to really gain the knowledge needed to really optimize that website, make sure that it is, got all of those keywords and everything that it was within the industry that you're choosing.
Yeah. In the area
and
too.
the area that you're wanting to be in, so that we can make sure that you are understood as the service that you're trying to sell in that area that you're in. So, utilizing the web page, Google and Facebook ad services, through that online package really helps boost those visits to your site, the phone calls that you get, because all of it means you're easily searchable. And search ads are great. We like to promote those, especially for you within that first 3 months that you're up and running. Again, I call it that virtual opening, grand opening of your store. You don't have any other opportunity than through these ad systems now to promote that. Since you're mobile, you're just driving around, you don't really have that ability to hang a banner out in front of your home or anything like that. So it's really important that you get that website set up.
And we've seen it time and time again because we will actually create this website before you come to pick up your machine. So you can start getting customers before you have your machine. And we've seen that, like, I've interviewed someone who landed a year's worth of work because one person saw his website that we created for him, and he just felt so confident after that. And we've also seen where people are like, hey, you know what, I'm going to try doing it on my own. And then they end up calling us and are like, wait, no. I want the ads. I want the services. So,
well, I think it goes back to the understanding of how we know all of the terminology. We know what words people are looking for. It goes beyond just sandblasting in my area. It can get pretty specific. There's even something called negative keywords. So, and not everybody has a general understanding of what all of that is. So it's just really important that you get a trusted provider. And for us, we've been doing it for ourselves this whole time, and we love the opportunity to be able to do it for our customers as well.
Yes. And once you do, you are in business and you're taking those before and after photos, we'll help you update your website with those photos. We want you guys to be successful. So we're really happy to offer those services.
Because that's on Facebook too. We definitely do that. We start pre-posting some photos to your Facebook page as well, because we know the minute you get home and somebody does click on your ad for that service, they're going to check you out to see what work was done. And so we've kind of thought about that too, and we want to make sure that those photos are up so they have a understanding of, oh, that is what they can do, and that looks amazing. And then, like Kaylin said, as soon as then you start getting your own pictures in, then we are more than happy to get those posted for you if you have any difficulty with that as well.
And then let's also talk about, besides online marketing, things that you guys can do. You're like, okay, but I still am feeling uneasy. I want to know how I can get customers. Like, what's something I can physically do right now? Pick up the phone and call some local businesses. So there are so many ideas, of people around you who could possibly need your services. We've heard of our contractors signing year-long deals with powder coaters, pool companies. I mean, you would be shocked by how many pool companies are using hand grinders and are desperate for you to come, relieve them of that headache. But definitely just pick up the phone and call some people around you and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing, or this is the services that I can offer, and I think I could be a real asset and save you a lot of time and money. And that will definitely help, get your name out there. And then construction companies, getting on their subcontractor list is huge. And I know so many of our contractors have recommended that as well.
And that's where the other thing that we also offer in our marketing options is the actual printed materials.
Yes.
So with printed materials, they can be very specific to the industry that you want to work in, but we have these wrap cards that describe what the services that you're offering in the, with a picture and an image of what it would look like before and after. And so leaving those as your calling card, which we also have the business cards and quote forms too, it just allows you to be able to go out, leave your reminder, and then wait for that phone to ring, because within that, that's the other thing that is going to always be the king of, marketing is word of mouth.
Yep.
And what's the best way to get people talking about you and your service is to leave them a friendly reminder.
Yep.
So again, the mobile rolling down the street, we've had more people stop at, for eating food on their way home,
or parked in a Home Depot.
Parked at a big box store, parked at a gas station, and they end up getting, have people legitimately walk up to them and say, what service are you providing, and can I get your business card?
Yep.
So you always want to have your business cards on you. You want to be able to, write something up while you're out and look very professional for that customer. That's what those quote forms are for. And then wrap cards, if you do have a friend who has a company and they're willing to let you set your wrap cards up on their checkout stand.
Yeah.
Why not? I mean, that is how so many businesses still, where we are here today, every time I go to my studio that I go to every day, there's like 5 other company business cards on the front desk. So that is a different, way to get your word out too, that you're in the area, and such an important one that we have an available option for you for as well.
And you can see all of our marketing services, our printed materials, all of that jazz on our website at dustlessblasting.com under our products page. So check that out.
Yes.
Moving right along, our fourth and final step before we open it up to the Q&A is taking advantage of our resources. Guys, we want you to succeed. We try to support you in any way we can. And so here are some ways that we do that. We have a hands-on demo at our facility in Houston. It's free. You can come and do the demo if you're still considering purchasing a machine just to see it in action. Or if you decide to pick up in Houston, you can do your demo there as well. Yes. My good friend Lewis will hook you up. He will give you a tour of the facility. He will show you how to turn it on and off, answer any questions you have, and then obviously give you that hands-on demo and show you how to actually blast something there.
He's great with that because it's, if you can't come to Houston to pick up your machine and it's being shipped to you, I mean, we'll still get you the same information. But when Lewis is here, he's really walking you through startup and shutdown procedures on this machine. And, we understand that's a lot of information coming at you really quickly. Yeah. And even though you're getting into it while you're here, you're having fun blasting and stuff, you may find that you're like, you get home and you're like, what did that guy say? I remember vaguely that he mentioned something about this, but I don't remember what it was exactly. Well, that's where the tech support, the training academy comes in. We just continue to have so many resources, but tech support itself, calling in to that phone line, again, Lewis is going to be very prepared to answer those calls. And he probably tells you at pickup when you're here, I understand you're going to be calling me for probably the first few months just to make sure, answer those questions. Now, what was that, startup procedure again, or what was that amount of media that I needed to put in the blast pot? All of that information is on the website, but if you ever have to call, we are here to answer the phone for that as well.
Yeah, because I feel like, honestly, turning it on and off is the hardest part. And then after that, I mean, you get in the groove, you figure out what works for you, and you're up and running. So we do have that hands-on demo and tech support. Now let's talk about the academy. Yeah. it is filled with hundreds of videos, downloadable PDFs, full guides from how to price jobs to prepping for a specific job, to cleanup and containment. I mean, anything that you might need, maintenance, is all in that academy.
Right.
So, and it's public facing. You can go check it out now and kind of see what you're getting yourself into as far as, you know, how do I price jobs? You know, I have no idea how to do that.
Right.
We already have those guides prepared for you, so that you feel more confident and know that you always have resources that you can go back and reference or download.
And we've talked about that before too. Like, you know, there is a learning curve to everything that you do. And so it's not, you know, you're not doing something incorrect or wrong to ask these questions about pricing jobs, or, you know, what would be the best abrasive to use for this. And, you know, generally you'll find that if over the first, you know, 3 months or so, you start keeping like a log of all of the things that you're even just test blasting for yourself, so you're getting your comfort level with the, you know, services that you're going to offer, you can talk about what's my standoff distance, what's my pressure setting, and what abrasive am I using. It's not very complicated, but until you do it a couple of times and you feel very comfortable with what you're doing, then, you know, you're kind of off to the races. It's a pretty simple process after that. But we're willing to have those conversations to give you that comfort and confidence, so that you can get onto these projects and get them tackled in an efficient amount of time.
And another awesome thing that I just love what we do is we have created a private Facebook group that is only for Dustless Blasting business owners. And they ask questions. They're like, hey guys, I'm doing this job, or I'm new here, I don't know how to quote this, or what media should I use, what pressure, anything. And people are so quick to respond and help one another out. They team up on jobs all the time. If someone's like super booked and busy, they're like, hey, who's in my area, who can come help me out? So that Facebook group is awesome, because if you're new and you're like, hey, I got my first pool, you can literally search pool, and then all the information of advice from over the years comes up.
Yeah, and what you'll still always want to use some sort of, you know, training of your own. Go get a scrap piece of something, whatever it may be, to test blast on your own, because while the premise is, you know, the formula or whatever, however you want to describe it, is the same for, you know, oh, let's recommend you stay 12 to 15 inches as your standoff. Well, for a 6'5" person to a 5'8" person, that's going to vary a little bit. Your standoff, your nozzle size, those are all kind of variations that your neighbor or the person that you're requesting, they might be using a different size nozzle, or they might, you know, like I said, size difference and standoff distance and things like that really do make an adjustment to your overall, you know, kind of process of how everything's going to be removed. You essentially become like a painter. I mean, every brush stroke a painter has is a little bit different, right? So you're going to be that individual too. And once you find out what your special formula is, through those notes that you keep, you will really gain an understanding of, you know, kind of what it is, how it works for you, how fast you can do it, how much media it took to do it. And, you know, it just starts to even out, and you gain your own confidence through that. But the stepping stone of having the individuals on the Facebook group, it's invaluable. I mean, those guys are amazing. And if you think that you have this very unique item that, you know, how on earth would I ever choose to bid this? Post it up or search it, because likely somebody else has already blasted something quite similar. But it's just awesome that they do. They provide you, you know, pictures. Some people post little videos, and they're really very descriptive, and it is just a great resource to have.
Yeah, and, you know, speaking of confidence, the last thing that, you know, I think helps with confidence is our online store. So as far as maintenance and products and nozzles, you can find all of that in our online store. And, you know, the thing that people really love about these products is that you can do the maintenance yourself. So, you know, our machines aren't these like crazy, overly intricate machines like some, you know, of others. And that's a big reason why people end up purchasing with us.
Oh, it's huge. I mean, we've had a tech rep that's worked for us before that was a field technician in his prior life. And he would say, you know, I'd always roll up to these jobs and be like, how come I'm not having to do any repairs on the green one? Like, what's up with that? And media choice too, you know, will always help you with your maintenance on your machine, because using good clean media allows for that fluid movement up and out of the pot, doesn't get jammed up in the blast hose or the nozzle, and really keeps an efficient blasting pattern for you. But back to the online store, so you can go on there and you can see we have a dry wear parts kit, and we have all the filters for the compressor that may be on your machine. And those items are, just critical. You are traditionally working in, a very dusty environment with the media, depending on the media, especially if you're dry blasting. That's why we call them dry wear blast parts. But the more you are in those conditions, the more your filters will, get dirty and need to be changed out. And likewise for the, the blast pot, you'll always want to check your nozzle to make sure it's still the same, size that it was for your machine too, in your compressor. But really, all in all, it's some easy parts, and we're talking a couple of $100 worth of maintenance, not thousands by any means. And so we've definitely designed this to be, like you said, self-repairable, easy to maintain, and that's what these are. These are maintenance types of items. So the online store is great for all of those resources, as well as for your safety or your PPE gear. That might be, we call it a comfort pack, but just because it pumps hot air in the winter and cool air in the summer, and guys say it's a game changer to have that on. So you can get things like that, and hose cutters, replacement hose, replacement nozzles, all that kind of stuff is on the online store.
Yeah. So there are, just so many ways that we are here and trying to support you, even after you've purchased your machine. We don't ever want you to feel like, oh, okay, see ya, you're on your own. So definitely always reach out to us if you have questions, or, you're trying to purchase something in the online store, if you have questions about any of our products or anything like that.
Absolutely.
So those are our 4 steps. Let's talk about a few next steps, and then we're going to open it up to the Q&A. So let's talk about, if you're like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to pick out my machine and take the next step. I would recommend just talking to one of our startup specialists. We'll leave the number up here for you guys to write down. Some other next steps that you can do is requesting a quote or applying for financing. I believe we put that in the description below, but you can also find that on our website. And then if you're like, okay, Kaylin, whoa, slow down, I'm still in my research phase, that is totally fine. We have so many blog articles and then, resources in that academy that we talked about for you to check out. So just go over to dustlessblasting.com if you want to continue your research. So,
yeah. We try to make it pretty simple. Talking to the sales team, they're going to just help you kind of finalize that equipment choice that you might be interested in. And then they can always point you also to the financing options. So we definitely tried to make that pretty easy as well. We work with several outside lenders that are very familiar with dustless blasting and what it is, and therefore can very easily and quickly get you an answer on your application. So we have that application on our website, and just a quick fill out on that usually takes up to 72 hours to get a response back. And with that response, it goes directly to you. It doesn't get funneled through us, but that response will go directly to you with what your payment terms would be, and length of time, and the payment rate. So all of that is, very simple as well, and can be found on the website.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Woo! We made it.
Question
Okay,
time.
Q&A. I know everyone's favorite part, especially mine. So, all right, let's just jump in. We have Jason here, who is asking, for those that live in the Midwest, how are others finding business and performing the services during the winter season? That's a great question, and we actually do have, we'll answer it here, but we also have an entire article on tips for blasting in the winter in our academy, so make sure to check that out. There's a bunch of different ways you can go about it. Some people just choose to dry blast in the winter because it's easier and they don't have to deal with water in those freezing conditions. Other people try to contain and actually pump hot air into whatever they're blasting.
Yeah, you can use the heat blankets over the, anything that needs to stay warm, or little portable heat units, just to keep everything warm and flowing, so nothing is freezing up. And the lines themselves is generally where that happens. And we, to kind of help support that, we've discussed pouring just something as easy as rubbing alcohol into the water to stop it. But those are, like you mentioned, some key little tips that we have on that Academy article.
And I interviewed with someone who only wet blasts. He does not dry blast at all in Alaska, and he has to wet blast because creating a plume of dust in those pristine locations are absolutely not allowed. And he only does ships and barges, and so he kind of pumps heat into the ship and tries to heat it from the outside. inside
Inside
out.
to the out, yeah.
And he also uses heat tape, which I had never heard of. So his interviews on our YouTube channel at all, and he gives so many tips on blasting and freezing conditions because that is his prime season. So make sure to check that out. I think it's episode 3 on our YouTube channel, Pointers with the Pros, Mike Ritz, shout out, Alaska Marine Coatings. So yeah, he does blast in only freezing conditions and uses a bunch of different techniques.
And some people, as a side, if you do have any area on your own property at home, sometimes this is when people will actually ask people to bring product to them. So it supplements that way.
Yeah.
If you know you're in an area where you totally understand what your blasting process is going to be like, what your containment needs are, and you just can't drive out to somebody in the winter,
Yeah.
you know, having that stuff brought to you is another option if you have a shop out in the back or something like that.
Yeah.
So they do that on top of the dry blasting or on top of the, you know, warming methods that other individuals use.
And then definitely take advantage of the Nova because it
Oh,
pumps
yeah.
that hot air and
Exactly.
keeps you warm, you know, warm in those weather conditions.
Yeah.
Okay, so next we have the equipment is mobile, but is it heavy to move and use? I'm over 56 years old.
Well, the good thing about our blast pots, even the ones that are on the mobile units, is that they do have wheels on them. So they operate almost like a dolly where you can tilt them back and then pull. You may, if you know you're going to be at a job site where you would require actually having to remove the pot from the trailer, you'd likely, you know, you might want a hand. I am capable of moving a couple of those pots by myself with just tipping them back, but getting it down off the trailer, you probably want a second hand to do that. But as Kayla mentioned earlier, the weights and all of the specs can be found on the website underneath all of the different products.
And we also have our GT truck, which I don't think we've even talked about
Skipped
that.
right over that one.
But we do have our Isuzu, and the Pro actually comes with a jib crane. But with that Isuzu, you can park, you know, as close as you want, get in tight spaces, and don't really have to worry about maneuvering a trailer behind your vehicle. So that's a great option for you. If you don't have a truck, then you don't need one.
Yeah, you don't need one. That was, I can't believe we skipped right over that. But that was another one of our, you know, options is if you don't have a truck and you don't want to go buy one because you have to wait for that fancy chip that may never come. You can go ahead and get the 2-in-1. It's, you know, it is our DB500 layout on the back of an Isuzu truck. The great cab for 3 people, easy to drive, super easy to navigate around.
Yeah, I can park that thing.
Yeah, and it's priced for less than what you would buy both a truck and a trailer for. So it's definitely a great option as well.
All right, moving on. Can you get government contracts?
Yes, you absolutely can. In your area, whatever those requirements would be, I know state to state, city to city, everything's a little bit different. But you could do that application where you fill out to get on that vendor list that the government has.
Yeah.
And I've heard of it, you know, being also similarly done for like the school system. It's not very, you know, much different. It's just a list that you have to get on and be approved for. But yes, this product and the abrasive choice that you make, like the crushed recycled glass is usually a great general all-purpose media.
Yeah.
But it is inert, non-toxic. It meets OSHA standards and CARB resource standards. So with those elements, that helps you get approval for certain, you know, surface prep projects, possibly within the government. So yeah, just check out your local government requirements.
Alrighty, let's do, can you talk about the Force Air Hood suit?
So I'm going to assume that's
Nova?
the RPB Nova. And it is an air filtration system. At the same time, just the protective hood element. So it's a hood and a cape. It doesn't come with the full suit. The suit is available though. But just that cape and the helmet protecting you with clean breathing air that comes from a Radex filter that also comes with the initial kit. All of that to provide you, you know, good quality air while you're blasting in a blasting environment. And then what we were referencing was the hot and cool tube that our units also come with, and that tube that is attached to your belt would then feed in either the hot or cold air.
And which is great because if you're going to take on like more commercial jobs,
Mhm.
they have certain requirements that you have to
Yes.
follow. And some of those is like a hard hat. So your Nova kind of takes care of really all that
Oh, it is.
PPE that you need.
Yeah, it's full NEOSH approved for all of those, kind of requirements that are needed.
Okay, how much do materials cost?
Another good question. I'm going to assume that to be abrasives. And with that, right now, crushed glass is under $12 a bag, I would say. Other medias can be a lot cheaper, and then there are definitely some more aggressive medias that are a little more expensive. That's why we generally promote crushed glass, just because of its environmental properties, but also because of its cost.
Yeah.
So the main thing you want to think about when you're thinking about materials is what is cheap and inexpensive and closest to you.
Readily available.
Readily available, because the weight of this in shipping is, can get really expensive. So a lot of people, they're going to their Granger, their sandblasting supply stores that are in their area. And if they don't have the product on the shelf, there's, contacts you can do. Like, we get our glass through Harsco. You could call them and order your own truckload driven straight to you. I mean, that's just fine. But for common projects and stuff, just using what's readily available and closest to you is ideal. What you'll find that you need to learn what your mix is about is the aggressiveness of that media. So, your project will dictate really if you need to step it up and get something super aggressive, or if you need to have something less aggressive. I don't know. There's not much that you couldn't do with the crushed glass because of the pressure variances.
Right.
You can do a pretty gentle cleaning with that. That's why we like it so much. It just, for a general purpose, it covers a lot of different options and industries.
And it's hard to it's hard to just say, hey, this is how much it's going to cost you every time, because every job is different.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll need, more or less media depending on the job. It's just all going to depend. Every job's going to be different.
Oh,
so
everything is going to be different. How many layers of paint
Yeah.
are on it? How old is whatever that coating is that you're trying to remove? Is it, a thicker substance?
Right.
Or
Like,
thinner?
I've seen people use 20 bags for one job, and I've seen someone use 4.
Oh,
So
yeah.
like,
for like
it's
hours
kind
and
of
hours and hours. Too.
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Okay. Can you get longer hoses to get to back alleys or other places?
Yeah.
Yes.
So that answer is definitely yes. You can add hose attachments. Generally, they're dictated by the strength of the compressor.
Yes.
So depending on the machine that you choose, you can. Each of our mobiles actually comes with 100 foot of blast hose. So that's included with a standard size nozzle that is paired with the compressor type. So we've really tried to get you covered on what everything you will actually need. But if you do feel like you need to go another 100 feet, it will just depend on which mobile you have and which compressor. But the answer is yes, you can definitely add sections on. We even sell on the online store the whip line, which is really great, because if you're getting longer with your hose length, you got 150 feet of pure blast hose, that can get heavy.
Yeah.
So we can put another 25-foot section of whip line, which is a
Light.
much more flexible, pliable, lighter hose that allows you to less fatigue, easier to manipulate around tight corners and things like that. So all of that is also available on the online store, and yes, you can certainly add on hose length.
Okay. I'm about a year out from starting up a dustless blasting business. What can I do to prepare for this? Financing, marketing, etc.
Yeah, I think we covered the marketing part, and that's just starting to get out in that community and see like where you would think that your services would be needed. You're trying to solve a problem for a business that the business has the problem. You've got a solution.
Yeah.
And how do we get to that? Well, you've got to call them and figure out, hey, what are you currently doing to remove, X?
Yeah.
And if you're calling like that powder coating company, I know a couple of powder coaters in the area, and they actually have to ship out what it is, or they hire a sandblaster to come in. They own like a small pot or whatever, but it is not as efficient as having somebody who can come to them, do the service. That means that's one less employee they have to have.
Yeah.
And it's one less outsourced wait a week to get it back kind of situation that they get themselves in.
Right.
So it's just calling on those types of industries that you have that interest in, asking them what their current method is, and then tell them how you have this better and more efficient method.
Yeah.
And would they be willing to give you a try with that? That's the best thing, especially being a year out. I would say the same thing for financing. Most financing deals are truly only valid for like a 90-day period. So if once you're within that 90-day window, you can start applying. But if you're longer than that, just know that the basics are kind of listed on our website, I believe, but they're generally looking for a 650 plus credit score and some comparable type of borrowing. And usually that's seen with a home mortgage, car payments, things of that nature. But another thing you could be doing for financing too is looking at your own lender at home. Do you belong to a credit union or your local bank? Have you done repeated business with them before? They might have an option too that would be slightly different. But for those companies that we work with, waiting to that 90 days would probably be better for you, so you know where you stand.
Yeah, and we do have several blog articles talking about how to get customers and things you can be doing. So just go to our blog and search customers, and it lists so many different businesses that might be in your area and just gives you some ideas of who you should be contacting and reaching out to, and just spreading that word before you actually get your machine. And then obviously make sure to check out our digital marketing packages so that we can go ahead and create a website for you, maybe get you some printed marketing materials if you want those as well. But we have our marketing services under our products page, so look at that because it might be a great option for you.
Yes.
Okay, we talked about, oh, no, we didn't. When starting an LLC, how hard is it to get financed?
So that's
kind of just talk.
Yeah, but it's an interesting question and something that actually everyone should take into consideration. So when you're actually trying to finance equipment, you're going after an equipment finance agreement, especially when you're financing through our partners. And with that, that means that the business entity that you register, anybody affiliated with that entity will have to apply for financing. And if you have, you and a couple of buddies are getting together to do this, it's kind of time to have that conversation about everybody's credit history. Because if one partner has slightly diminished credit, it likely brings down the whole team. So once an LLC has been formed, so that's why you want to make sure you have an understanding of how you would all fare together, because that is how the application will go. So consider if you're in a group, and that's okay, but just maybe only start the group off with one individual, get the system, get yourself up and running. And then you can add the business partners back into the LLC at that point.
Yeah.
That might be a better way to go about it if you know that one of you has more challenged credit. So that is a great question, because we do find it to be difficult to some once they've gotten in as a group and the four of them have all applied together or registered for the business together, and then they apply and one or two people in it aren't meet the criteria, and then they have to start all over. So it is good to do your homework and kind of just have that uncomfortable conversation with your business partners and kind of figure out what the credit situation is before you apply for that LLC.
Okay, what is the most common / profitable use for your machines? Oh, that's a good one.
That is a good one. And, I would say we're most predominantly known for the automotive sector, just because that's where we are on TV a lot. That's where, this whole even development started. Yeah. And so with that, we have a lot of people who are in the automotive industry, but I would say over time, we have really seen the pool and commercial offerings increase tremendously.
Yeah, those big commercial and industrial jobs, I interviewed someone who was doing a large yacht, like an insane size, and he said,
with a helicopter on it.
Yeah, the helicopter on it. And he was like, girl, I just threw out the highest number and thought there's no way they're going to accept it. But because they were on such a tight timeline, they're like, yeah, we take your offer, get in, get it done. Like, those boats, when they bring those big boats out of the water, they
Yeah.
can only, every day that they're on the water is a lot of money for them. So they want to get someone in, sometimes multiple blasters in
Yes.
at one time to get it in and out. So those big commercial and industrial jobs that are on a timeline is usually super great as far as profits go for you, because they just want you in and out. Like, okay, we'll pay your price.
Yeah, it's a fast process, and I will say that that industry, to me, has grown tremendously over this year. And then the latest one that we've really seen up and coming has been through the general contractors
Yes.
and home restoration. So
Yeah.
here, particularly in the Houston area, we've got Galveston pretty close by, and they're actually, dedicating an entire show to renovating the exterior of all of these historic homes.
Yeah.
Well, they're actually, instead of going in and scraping all this old paint off and everything else, this is just an ideal solution to getting in on that. We've seen other, home people redoing their front door. We've had a couple of contractors even in the Facebook group, big homes,
Yeah.
with big wooden front doors. They're refinishing those front doors, so they're blasting on the doors.
I was surprised by how many driveways we see.
Yes.
And I think it spiked a lot during COVID because people were at their home so much and they're like, man, this is, this about my house is really driving me crazy. I never noticed it before, but now I'm here all the time. So a lot of residential jobs have been coming up. Like I know someone in Florida who's just literally like busy with driveways nonstop.
Well, there was, and that does bring to case in point, one of those contractors, the HOA. We've seen, because we have some of those neighborhoods here where part of the driveway is done in a little bit different of a texture, where they've sealed it and have a coating on top. Well, this neighborhood in his state had that set up, but it all failed. All of this paint and sealer failed, and all of the homes had to have it redone. So that right there was 150 houses that he got to go in. So his whole thing became, where's every HOA in my area?
Yeah.
And that's what he got in with. So, I mean, those are kind of the most popular ones we've seen so far this year, really kind of taking over. But as we've said before, and what you will realize when you get introduced to this Facebook group, is there is so much stuff out there that this product is appropriate for. So just keep your eyes open while you're out driving around.
Alrighty. Sorry, I lost my place. Okay. I'm in Los Angeles. What do you know about regulations and permits? Oh, that's a good one.
Oh yeah, California is always an interesting one. And my best answer, really, as it applies to any state, is to check with your state requirements for permitting and job use. I do know that specifically in the state of California that they do require you to have a special licensing for it. Most of the time, people enter in under, I think, paint stripping and cleaning services. So you might look into something like that as a starting point. Also, if you have any industry experience, whatever licensure you held for that, maybe that can be your foothold into communication about what would be required. But generally, every state is different. What, again, I just go back to the process and the media choice, which those should very easily be permittable in your area, because the compressor that is on our mobiles, they're all Tier 4 final compliant, which means they meet all the regulation of OSHA for noise levels. And then you've got our machine, which utilizes the crushed glass abrasive with water. So and low use water too. That's something that we definitely need to bring up when we're talking, especially to our friends in California. We're talking with a DB500 blast pot, 20 gallons of water over the period of an hour. That is not going to get you any runoff, any streaming of water. It's low use water. It's very different in that manner as compared to pressure washing services. So between that and then you add in your media, which right on the bag will say CARB compliant, which is the California Air Resource Board. So we can get you compliant with the products that we offer, but as far as like the servicing part and the licensing that you need, I would definitely just recommend that you check with your state and city.
Do you offer military or veteran discounts on the equipment?
So what we do, we've definitely held true to ourselves, not having any distributors really in the United States or Canada. we're giving you the best possible prices on our machines that we can. But we are so appreciative of our veterans out there. So we always do want to be able to give you a little bit of a leg up. And we do try to, with your veteran ID, we'll try to throw in those consumables for you.
Yep.
So either some of our rust inhibitor, which gets utilized in the blasting process, or the media, in our case is the crushed glass. So we'll set you up with something like that, and your sales team member would have more information about that.
Yes. Okay, is your anti-rust additive available only through your online store?
Yes, at this point it's available through the online store, and can be shipped to you, or if you're in the Houston area, you can always come pick it up from us. But rust inhibitor is available for that. And our rust inhibitor, because we didn't really talk about that too in the blasting process, I think when you are having some of these conversations with some local businesses and they're thinking, oh, you're blasting with water, well, that's just going to make everything rust. Well, no, it isn't, is the answer. And here's why: because of the rust inhibitor that we utilize. So this element gets actually poured into the water tank on the unit, and or also into the blast pot. So you have a choice there. You can put it and fill up your whole water tank with that and its water ratio. It's a 1:100 ratio mix.
Yep.
Or you could fill it in the blast pot, and our spec recommendations tell you how many ounces to use when doing it that way. So you use it during the blasting process, and then when you're done, you rinse it down, and then you get as much of that excess moisture off as you can with something as easy as a leaf blower.
Yep.
So that process right there will stop flash rust from occurring for anywhere up to 72 hours, as long as it's kept inside, out of the moisture and elements, and no sticky fingers are touching on it. So that is available from our online store.
When will the DB800 be available on the new truck platform?
Interesting. Well, that will be available probably sometime late 23, maybe 24. I'm hopeful that as supply chain issues go, that the trucking industry will get some trucks back in an inventory and we can get this out as soon as possible. But for right now, that's kind of the time frame that we're being told.
Can you remove grease, dirt, and other grime from, say, construction equipment without removing the paint?
So it really depends. The process of surface preparation is just to remove whatever's there so you can see what the original substrate was. It really depends on what it is and what that base coat is, because on the same side is you can remove anti-fouling paint without busting the gel coat on a boat. So it really depends on what that coating is. But this isn't, intended to be a gentle cleanser like a pressure washer would be. But it is meant to remove that painted surface. So it just depends on what's underneath that painted surface before you would get to, the construction equipment.
Do you sell to international customers? I live in Trinidad in the Caribbean.
So yeah, absolutely. We sell all over the world actually. And, our main thing is just making sure you get what is right for the area that you're in. So in addition to our mobile trailers, we have our blast pots. Like you said, the guy in Alaska, that's what he had to have. Anywhere where there might be street considerations, your Department of Transportation, based on whatever their requirements are, you could check the widths and lengths of our trailers and make sure they're road ready for your area. Otherwise, the blast pots would be a good option for you, and then you could potentially source an adequate air compressor for your country.
And all of our blast pots are available in our online store.
Yeah, that's true.
So you can go check those out as well. The link's on our website. So if you're just interested for standalone blast pot.
Yes, absolutely.
I think that's all we have, guys.
Oh, great. Well, if there were any questions that get added after and we just didn't have a chance to look, we'll catch up with those
absolutely
afterwards.
Yes.
Sounds
So
great.
thank you guys so much for joining. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us directly, or continue your research on dustlessblasting.com. But we're so glad that you took the time to join us and ask questions, and we hope this was a valuable experience for you. But we'll stay in touch, and thank you again.
Yes. Have a great day. Thanks.